And now, viewers, Marco Rubio has held delegation-level talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on the second day of his India visit, wherein he focused on strategic ties between Washington and New Delhi. In the opening remarks, he highlighted that the partnership between the two countries is one of the most important in the world. Speaking to the media, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar stated that the two countries also discussed extending the Defence Cooperation Framework Agreement with a strong emphasis on deeper military collaboration, technology sharing and long-term strategic partnership initiatives. He added that a comprehensive underwater domain awareness roadmap was signed during the discussions aimed at boosting maritime surveillance and naval coordination. He further highlighted that the talks focused on promoting the Make in India approach in the defense sector, including collaboration in advanced and complex defense manufacturing. He stated both sides explored opportunities for joint production, defense innovation, and greater industrial partnerships. Let's now take a look, viewers, at the main points brought up in the bilateral talks held today. Let me show you that, viewers, on the big screen. Now, we are of course talking about this very important meeting between S. Jaishankar and Rubio and what was discussed in it. The first point is strengthened overall India-US strategic partnership. That is point number one. Deepened defense and security cooperation, which of course is a very important point, viewers. Boosted trade, investment and economic ties. Advanced energy and critical minerals collaboration. Promoted free and open Indo-Pacific region. Discussed regional issues including West Asia, the conflict of course. So these are very important, pertinent points, viewers, and as I was telling you earlier, which was an hour back, that Marco Rubio has also said that there will be a lot of cooperation between the two countries when it comes to terrorism. And joining me now is Mr. Karori Singh. He's a foreign affairs expert. I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Singh, and begin with your opening comments on this, because we've told our viewers about multiple points. What is your take on this key meeting and the statements that followed?
Is more focused on the roadmap which was set during the last year during two visits, one by India's Prime Minister to White House, and the joint statement was issued in 13 February 2025. And thereafter, both the defense ministers met in Kuala Lumpur, and the US-India defense partnership framework was set at the November last year. So both these documents, they set the roadmap. Now what India and US are doing to bring these points in these documents and the roadmap into action. So now India-US relations are on the action mode. But there are certain other issues were also discussed, for instance, the trade. And the President Rubio is very much optimistic about the trade, and he hopes that very shortly the trade deal will be completed between India and United States. Moreover, the problem may be because Rubio is spending 4 days in India, it means US is attaching highest importance to India. Partly because of US has its own interest, partly India is the largest democracy and US is the greatest democracy. So both the countries share similar values. The systems are open systems. So there are so much potentials for the cooperation. That is why they are bringing to the action mode. Meanwhile, Rubio will also be participating in the Kuwait Foreign Ministers meeting. And in that meeting, I think there will be some common interest issues, not only regarding Indo-Pacific, even about the regional stability and security, not only in Indo-Pacific, but other regions as well. Maybe in the South Asian South China Sea or the West Asian, all these things may be included in the joint communique, and they will also decide the agenda for the Quad summit taking place sometime in September or October. I think it's a step towards the right direction, and that if the trade agreement is concluded, and moreover, Rubio also told that India is the first country who becomes the Pact Silica member. And that is a very important in terms of technology and artificial intelligence. So India is the first member of the US initiative or Pact Silica. So from that point of view, I think the relations are advancing towards the right direction, and now on the action mode, not only in issuing statements and the communiques, going beyond that. Over.
Right. Mr. Singh, you know, I also want to ask you about the fact that how will countries like China and Russia view the growing strategic closeness between India and the US?
India had certain reservations in the beginning, and India tried to shift its foreign policy focus on bilateral relations with the smaller countries and concluding bilateral free trade agreements with the different countries. When the free trade agreement with the trade deal with United States was not advancing fast, so the India tried to cultivate relations with other countries as well. But India is equally engaging China and Russia, because you are having good relations, cordial relations with the United States does not mean India is not engaged with China and Russia. India has a huge trade, and not only trade but trade deficit with China. So India shall have to export more items to China and to balance the trade. That is the India's top priority. So India will remain engaged with China for balancing its trade. And moreover, the Russia is the main contributor to India's trade, energy security. So India will continue to cultivate relations with all the three great powers, China, Russia and United States. And I don't think US will mind it why India is having close relations. Even US itself is having very cordial relations with these countries. It's not cordial but engaged, of course, because we are living in the era of interdependence. It's not the one-side dependence. So the US itself is dependent on China on so many items and so many issues. So I don't think India has any difficulty in balancing relations with China, Russia and United States. That is not the otherwise India also pursuing the strategic autonomy policy or dehyphenated policy. That is the long-standing policy perspective of India. So I don't think India will have any dilemma or any paradox while cultivating relations, close relations and partnership. Even the defense partnership with the United States, I don't think there will be any problem. One issue may be an important one, because Rubio told that Iran is the
Mr. Singh, I hate to interrupt you, but we are getting some breaking news and we're short on time, but I do appreciate your joining us on NewsX.